You're listening to Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings podcast.
With the man, the myth, the legend. Ken Smyers and Eric Stromquist.
Control Talk Now, the weekly podcast with building automation and smart building control news you can use.
Now, here's Eric.
Hi, welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings VideoCast and podcast for the week ending May 22nd, 2016. My name is Eric Stromquist, and I'm the host of Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast. And all our listeners are wanting to know if the man, the myth, the legend, my co-host, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, made it back safely from New Orleans. Well, I'm here to inform you, not only did he make it back, he made it back with a new vim and vigor, as you will soon see. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the show, Big Dog.
Yep, thank you very much, Eric. I made it back. It was a interesting drive. My brother and I drove down. We tag teamed. It's a 17-hour drive from Pittsburgh to New Orleans, and it's a great drive. America, it's an amazing place. It's so big and so spacious, and there's so many different people having different dialects, it was just an amazing visit. It was a good wind-down period after that 2016 Niagara Summit, which was amazing in its own self.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to talk a lot about that today. But so tell me the route you went, because we drove from Atlanta down, and I think we were tracking you guys about 40 minutes behind you. So you guys went from New Orleans through Mobile, and then walk us through your route, how you went back.
I'll try. We came down differently. We came down originally through West Virginia, then North Carolina, kicked over, heading almost to Atlanta, and then they made a right and went almost straight. So
you came down 85 then, basically.
Yeah, right, well, 77, 85, and then lose track of the roads. I want to say 64 or 56, and then when we came back, it was just the opposite way. We came back through Alabama. Then we went to.
So you went up through Birmingham then, right?
Birmingham, Alabama, went through Nashville, Huntsville, saw the rocket on the side of the road there where they did the space program way back Winsky. Went through Alabama totally, then Tennessee, then Kentucky, then Ohio, and then Pennsylvania.
I got you, man. You Smyers boys rock and roll. And of course, Kenny's referring to his brother Dave Smyers, David Michael Smyers. And and Kenny and Dave have a company, DMS Controls Group. I mean, they are on the rise. I mean, talking about building automation controls, these guys just totally rock and roll. Got a new website, dmscontrols.com. So be sure to check those guys out there too. And Kenny, it was a big, big week down there, huh? You recovered yet?
I have, physically, because it was exhausting. Early morning, late at night. It was like the perfect storm. It was like a wedding in preparation. This event, it required, I think Jenny Graves said 16 months where you book the site and you just, get everything, start filling all the squares in across this amazing composite of integration of people from all over the world. And then you have entertainment to deal with. You have, police escort into, Mardi Gras style into the Champion Square. And then the food, but the most important thing was the delivery of the Niagara message. It was a great state of review. Nina DeCosmo did a fabulous job. I mean, we'll go ahead and break it down, day 1, day 2, day 3. But what'd you think?
I loved it, Kenny, and I think one of my favorite parts, and again, I wanted to just say a special thanks to everybody that came up to us, from around the world that watches Control Talk Now or listens to the podcast. Just a great group of people, and that just means a lot to me, and I think to Kenny too, when you guys and ladies come up and say hi to us and let us know you watch the show. We really believe in this industry. We really believe in the people in this industry, so to sort of get acknowledgement, I mean, just really makes us feel good about the whole thing. So for everybody that came up and spoke to us, we really appreciate it, and we're going to keep on keeping on. So that was one of the highlights to me, Kenny, just getting to see all
from
the
around
folks.
the world. We had, you're right, it is a tickle when somebody from Australia or Italy, those guys from Italy, France, we had people from France came up and they just stood by you and they were taking pictures. The guy was getting next to you and his buddy was taking the picture because he was taking a photo op with the one and only Eric Stromquist. So it was kind of, but that's kind of, that's neat. But the impact of what going on, like England, they're talking about their world, the control trends, so the messaging that we're trying to do is actually hitting and taking that, where people realize we got a great industry, we're understaffed,
Yeah.
We're not getting the choice of the litter as far as the young talent. And so I think everybody's getting a message at the same time that we need to really truly open up. We need to embrace the social media elements that people use to attract young workers. We need to make our industries a little bit more important and glamorous from the perspective of its people first, not products. See, I think so many times we lead with the right hand. You know, when they say products price people, or people price products. You know, we need to get the people up into the front. You know, into the lead card so that people can see how it's a great industry. It's a great future, but we need people, and we're desperate to get the talent that's out there. And so the people from Australia we're talking about, it almost sounded like something we were saying. I mean, it almost sounded, you know, exactly what we've been saying over one of the critical trends is getting young guns into the business, because they'll pull their friends and associates, and they'll get more people looking at being a technician. You know, the HVAC world, it's given that, you know, to be a first world country, you have to have all this amazing technology, but it's all behind the walls and the wireless, and people don't see the actual how it's done. So it was good to hear. That was very rewarding to hear people aligning with the themes. Light litter took a big.
Well, hang on, Kek. I want to just sort of chime in here on the young people and attract them into the industry, because you know, that's a theme that we picked up all along with Ken Sinclair. You know, sort of our prophet, if you will, Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildings.com, and Ken sort of sees out in the future and looks back. And I think Jim Young, our other Nostradamus type guy from Realcomm Ibicon, would agree with this. This industry, there is so much more demand than there is supply right now. And I really think it's an industry that you know, forget about going to law school. You're just going to be paying student loans off forever. Forget about being a doctor. You're going to be paying student loans off forever. Not that those professions aren't important, but our profession is, I think, going to be, it already is, you know, a very high-priced industry in terms of if you're a good technician and know what you're doing in this industry, you're making more money than most bankers I know. You're sure as hell making more money than your used car salesman, and it's a great industry. And then we sort of get to, we've talked about the millennials, the young people that are coming in, and sort of what matters to them. And Kenny, you remember that a guy did a YouTube talk that was really, really famous, talking about the big why. You know, why are you doing things? And, you know, and that's what made Apple so critical and such an attractive company to work for, because they were changing the world. And if you think about our biggest challenge on the planet right now, right, is the environment. The amount of energy we're using is directly correlated to that. So this is an industry, if you're a younger person, you can come into and you can make a huge, huge difference that is quantifiable, right? With all the great graphics packages like we have from DG Logix and SkySpark and J2 Innovation and Periscope and all the other people. I mean, you can actually see the results of your actions. And I don't know that there are too many industries that you can do that in. So it's like the best kept secret on the planet right now. And I tell you what, I mean, you know, most of the millennials are really into technology, Kenny. I mean, we got all the cool toys in our industry, right?
Sure. It's like an avalanche now. In fact, you know, used to be, if you knew how controls worked, that was enough. And then all of a sudden somebody threw a computer in front of you, a laptop, you know, so you had to figure out how to use Windows, and you had to figure out, you know, how to, you know, find, go through the tree, the architecture, and find files or whatever, and sort them out. Now, it's starting out that the kids, when I say kids, I'm talking anybody from like 18 to 25. So it's not, kids is probably a poor word. But they just so immediately adjusted to something that's wrong. They'll sit down at a computer and they'll say, this thing's an art, you know, get rid of this. Let's go with this thing here. And they can automatically take all the IoT issues off the table. And then they can focus on actually learning how equipment works and how, you know, and the engineering aspects. So I think Ken Sinclair, like you mentioned him, he said that we're going to learn exactly what we need to learn. So you're not going to go to school and learn 4 years of everything with the history of engineering and architecture. You're going to spot learn. You're going to learn how to do something like this, like tune a chiller. And you're going to learn how to do this. Basically a sales engineer approach. When we go to all the factory schools and get the certificates for the walls, we learn how one product works in one application at a time. And so that's the amazing thing. And some of the video libraries that we're creating and some of the video archives that are available, now we're seeing a synthesis of how a young person can come in, play with the toys first, access that incredible archival library, the Alexandria Library of HVAC, which primarily now rests at, I would say, Ken St. Clair site, automated buildings. If you go in there and you look at how to do something, you'll find an article somewhere exactly where you need to be as far as getting, some insight and understanding on how this works, how you do this and whatever. So that was one of the major things I saw. And then, like, again, the light litter. We had people.
Well, hang on. I'm not ready to talk about light litter yet. I got more stuff with these young guns. I got to hit in on. So I just want to give a great example. I mean, there are a lot of great examples out there. Our friend Brad White from up in Canada, he and Rob Allen are consummate young guns. But let's look at Hepta Systems. Our friend Ted Houck and Jason and Jeremy Houck. I mean, they're out there, and Ted is telling me. And Hepta, if you don't know, is a systems integrator that's just going through the roof, right? I mean, I think Ted said they went from 5 people last year. I think they got 40 or 50 now. And Ted is really dialed into hiring these young, super, super bright people and then setting a framework up where they can rock and roll and go. So, I mean, that's a great example. So if you see Ted at, if you haven't at Realcom, Ibicom, I think he'll be there. You should talk to him about that. And these guys, it's just a great example. And I think part of it, Kenny, is you have to be willing to hire people that might be a lot smarter than you are in certain domains, right? And, he's talking about some of these guys he's got on staff, and they're scary smart with what they do. So I think it's, getting them to come on board with you is a key piece, and then setting a framework up where they can thrive and survive is the other part of it. Because they don't look, feel, sound, walk, talk like the people we're used to dealing with. There's a completely different group. And Jason and Jeremy, you guys kind of bridge the gap. I mean, talk Jason and Jeremy Houck, they're young guns, but they're kind of old young guns right now, right? I mean, you got almost got to get younger than that.
Remember Paul Oswald, probably 2 years ago at the AHR, he was in the collaboratorium with Ken St. Clair, and he screamed to everybody, get the person into the picture first, and the people. He said that half of the people in that auditorium or that in the viewing area were already too late to miss the boat. So You're right. Everybody that is aware of the rapidity of technology and how it's just an avalanche needs to get the young minds into the system as quickly as possible, because they can carry that load so much easier. To them, it's not a burden. If you take somebody who's midstream in their career or even in the autumn of their careers, they don't want to hear this. They got a sweet spot. They just don't have it. So when you talk about the Houck family, they've actually got the senior and then 2 junior executive styles that they bridge it all. And, Ted Houck, to his credit, he gets it. He knows this stuff. He eats it up. That reminds me of another integration firm that, won the Master Systems Integrator or Systems Integrator of the Year. That was automated integrated out of Oklahoma City. Wow! You go into their meeting and there's nobody over 40 years old. It's like the whole world was reset back, several generations, so that the young guys coming in now, they really get it. They carry so much weight, and in a diversified background of IT, security, cameras, they got it all together, but they all synthesize it well because they speak that same young technical language. So you're right about the toys. Our industry, it should be fascinating to a young person coming out of the technical backgrounds. If you're doing math and engineering, I mean, you should plunder our industry.
Well, you really should, Kenny. And I think one of the skills for us to learn, and maybe Ted Houck will teach us how to do this, is, how do you manage and inspire and make sure the millennials are productive? Because one of the key features that we got from Johnson Controls and Chris Eichmann at the last Johnson Controls Customer Summit, which is, by the way, the next one's coming up in October in Nashville, so looking forward to that. But one of the things we got out of the millennials is what they're doing's got to matter to them, right? Not because you say so, but because it really does. So I think that's going to be a whole skill set we're all going to have to get dialed into.
Well, you just said it too about saving the earth, saving the planet. In other words, we talked to a couple engineers, and the gentleman from Canada just lost the young guy that you mentioned.
Oh, Brad White.
Yeah, he called himself. They believe they're environment engineers. It's the environment first, because we really and truly at some point in time have to agree to the reality that we're making a negative impact on the footprint that's going to be lasting into the millennium. Well, let's talk about the next 1,000 years. If we're not doing a good job now and really trying to become stewards, fit it into the day-to-day activities and select the most, energy saving. It should be a mentality. It should be a culture. And now we're just starting to get it. But the young folks, you're right, they prefer that. If you're not into it, they're not into you.
No, I completely agree. And one of the really encouraging things for the summit, Kenny, I noticed two things for sure that was just really sort of hit me like a cold bucket of water in a good way, was noticing the number of young people that were there, right, which was awesome. So we had a lot of younger people there, and also consulting engineers. We had some great consulting engineers there. And the fact that consulting engineers are showing up at places like Niagara and Realcomm Ibicon, I think is very, very encouraging for our industry.
Sure is. I met a couple, two, and again, they recognized us and asked us how we got started and why we do it, kind of because it's like, it's not paid, it doesn't pay well. But Jim Birch was a energy engineer with all the, he's like Rick Warner, he's got the 4 or 5 suffixes after his name, the CPM, CEM, whatever. But he was talking too, not only do they want to fix, forget wasting energy anymore. It's just that's a no, don't go there, because it's assumed that you're all about energy and operational technology. But now they're talking about the young engineers are finally getting into the thing where cut and paste is money waste. He now is trying to synthesize the engineering specifications to prevent the silos anymore. Where you don't let lighting get away from the integrated workstation. You don't let the elevators go over here. You make sure that there's a common thread, that anything that you can put smarts to, it has to be integrated into the overall smartness of the building to make the intelligent building. So the edge to enterprise is being defined specifically through products now. So that was remarkable, I thought. Well,
it really is, because I tell you what, if you talk to people in the know, guys like Bill Duckelberger from Blue Ridge Technologies, one of the great lighting companies out there, and many, many others, they really think, and I think Scott Cochran, Brian Turner would agree with this too. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody would disagree with it, except for the people that have been doing it the same way for the last 150 years. There's so much waste and inefficiency by having those things in different sections in the specifications. So it's encouraging, because I think the engineering community is getting it. I think they're really realizing, for them to create value for their user customers, they got to figure out ways to bring these technologies in such a way that the integration is smooth and flawless, and cuts inefficiencies out of the system. So, Buddy, did I hear you mention light litter like about 6 or 7 minutes ago?
Well, I made a feeble attempt, but again, when you hear somebody saying something you said, or that we said, or that Control Trends has identified as a trend that needs massive awareness brought to it, and then it was light litter. So to hear, we had Mike Welch from England talk about the stuff he sees over in England. Talked to a couple of people from all different states. There's nowhere. Los Angeles, I think, was one. So even in the energy deprived areas of the country, where energy should be it should be like oxygen and dune, or tears and dune. Why would we allow waste to occur? But all the way back from New Orleans to Pittsburgh, my brother's finally saying light litter. I mean, every municipality every building, every warehouse district, every business RIDC is horrible. The lights are on. I mean, it's like nobody gives a darn. What the heck's going on? So we need to rally, keep it rallied, keep people excited. But the most important thing I learned in the Air Force was, anybody could, spout out about problems. Nothing's working, nothing's this, whatever. We had a commander when he said, listen, anybody can cite a problem. Come up with a solution. I don't want to hear you announce the problem until you at least gave it thought and give us your best thoughts on what the solution should be. And that's the crazy kick with light litter, is it's very, very fixable, very solvable.
No, I think it is, Kenny. And it's also just a great prospecting tool, because, I think all of us in our industry, whether you're a consulting engineer, whether you're a distributor, whether you're an integrator or a contractor, our biggest cost, bar none, is the cost to send salespeople out to get business, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I don't have time to see salespeople. People don't have time to see salespeople or sales engineers unless they have a problem. And the only way they're going to know they have a problem, like light litter, which is a term Kenny came up with, which is basically the middle of the day. It's a beautiful, bright day, and your outside lights are on, or your parking lot lights are on. it's huge waste. Kenny calculated $2 billion a year, but it is so easy to solve. So if you're a salesperson or a sales engineer, you see light litter, I mean, it's pretty easy to pull in, find out who the financial guy is, and make a call because it's so fixable. It's a time clock. It's making sure that the photo cell's adjusted correctly. It might even be an integration opportunity, but typically when those things happen, it's not because they don't have devices in place. It's because the devices are they're out of calibration, they're no longer working. But what better way to solve a problem, a worldwide global problem in your country, and at the same time have an excuse to pick up the phone and say, hey, I noticed your lights were on. Do you realize it's costing you this much money? It's an easy problem to fix. If you can set me up with your maintenance engineer, I'd be glad to come in and take a look and give you a free consultation on what you need to do.
Well, and for the contractors, I think the real solution and the real people that we need to get to and motivate are the guys out there in the trucks rolling out every day, riding by. They need to be able to, they need to be coached into having a very plausible reason to say, look, here's what my company does. We could fix this for $100 or $200 or whatever. Come up with a sales pitch. But the ones that really annoy me are the municipalities because that's tax money.
Oh, that's our money, baby. That's our money.
I just watched a special on TV. Our levees are going down here in Pittsburgh. The Army Corps of Engineers, they say in 12 years these levees are going to break. They're 80 years old and the cement's cracked down the middle. And if the waterways aren't protected, we have so many issues here. It's incredible. Interstate commerce would stop because all the barges coming through the three rivers in Pittsburgh, Allegheny, the Allegheny, Monongahela, forming the Ohio. I mean, there's just, it's one of the largest inland, interior delivery points, and it would be closed because the levees would break. The municipalities wouldn't have water to take out of the river. I mean, it's catastrophic, and it's going to take, $12 billion to fix in 18 years. It'll take 6 years per levy, and they can't get the attention of the government. The government's just blowing them off.
Well, yes. Well, the government's blowing off, and then the other thing is the government is probably wasting money on light litter. So, all right, Kenny. So here we go. Special announcement: calling all lighting manufacturers that have a product to solve light litter. That could be Watt Stopper with the bullet. That could be Intermatic. There are a host of them. Listen, let's get together. Let's incentivize the guys in the trucks, okay, to solve a light litter problem. We got the Green Marines Facebook page where you can post pictures of light litter, but let's kick in some product, or let's kick in some incentives. So if a guy in a truck goes out, solves a light litter problem, post the before and after picture on Facebook. Let's find a way to incentivize that guy. So Kenny and I are open for suggestions. Like Kenny says, we know we've got the solutions. We just need to organize. We need to rally behind it. But if you're a lighting manufacturer that has lighting controls, I mean, what better way?
You said that. Let's get Google. I mean, we've got eternal eyes and ears on all day, all night. Let Google, with their incredible sensory thing. I just did a search this morning, and it's so amazing. You can hit an address, it actually brings a picture of a building up, and the building has lights on in the daytime. How about Google helping us out here? Google, why don't you take a sampling of the highways and using your technology to help identify all the lights that are on in the daytime in areas where they shouldn't be on. Now, if there's inclement weather or it's all factored out. So if you have overcast, if you have fog or whatever, then the sensor in conjunction with the program and the reading of the lumens says, okay, we still need lights even though it's 12 o'clock because of the obvious conditions, torrential downpour, whatever. So, but there's technologies that should be able to sense this and then issue tickets.
Well, Kenny, and issue tickets, I love it. Okay, so Google is going to be at the next event we're going to be at with Jim Young, Howard Berger, Realcomm Ibicon, which is the next big event where real estate and technology come together. I know Google will be there. Google, we're coming to find you. We're going to give you the first opportunity to solve this global problem. If not, we'll just go to Elon Musk because he'll fix it.
Once he gets that rocket down, he's landing rockets now. It's awesome. What an amazing thing that was. Okay, let's go on to the show, Eric.
Let's go to the show, buddy. Days. Hit it. What's our first post?
Well,
Big
I'll tell you what, because our Mr. Pogue, told us he showed Elon Musk rocket landing on his ship, and I'll tell you what, that's spooky. That had the same tingles when I was probably the moon launch. I was sitting on my dad's lap watching it. It was unbelievable. It was just like, is this for real?
I thought you were going to say the first time you saw a pair of boobies, but go ahead.
That was another day and was a different lap. No, just kidding. And Control Talk Now, Smart Buildings VideoCast podcast, day one of Niagara Summit. This again is just so a massive event. We're talking numbers here: 1,300 people plus 200 or so spouses and partners and others rally there. So you got 1,500 people walking the streets of the Mardi Gras area, doing this into the Champion Square. But, you're talking large screen. You're talking larger than life environment and just people having a great time. So networking, I saw people I haven't seen in many years. And it's just it's like a family reunion. It's like a class reunion. It's like an industry reunion. So that's one aspect of it. But, the top developers in the world, the top programmers, the building owners and engineers and executives that have economic stakes in these outcomes are here. And then they get to be led by a program that's just designed to introduce technology, enable the people there to use the technology, create new value, money streams to make livings. In other words, it's hard to talk about nuts and bolts, but we got to keep moving. The cheese is moving. You got to move with it. You find new ways to make money, to generate revenue. Nice. And then take advantage of the technology. So having this served up to you in a very palatable fashion of technology mixed with the people, the product managers. So it just was amazing. So then you had 300 developer partners actually were there earlier at the boot camp session. And then to kick it off, after having these fabulous presentations and interviews with Mike Welsh from England, Mike Marston from EZIO, Nino DeCosmo, Wayne Ty, Jenny Graves from Tritium, Mark Peacock, Biagio De Lorenzo, Louis Malgares from Neptronic, Mike Swen. It just goes on and on. You have to visit the post. But then we went to the Cochrane Supply. We needed our Bourbon Street boosters to get enough energy to hang out there. And that was a lot of fun, too. So it was a late night the first day.
Oh, it really was, Kenny. And I tell you what, first of all, hats off to Scott Cochran. If you haven't checked this guy out yet, Cochrane Supply, they're out of Detroit, Michigan, but they are all over the place. So, Scott, thank you for your hospitality. They rented out the Hard Rock Cafe, and it was just sort of a who's who there, kind of like the after party to the Tritium party. And as you said, Kenny, it was pretty spectacular, that opening ceremony, getting to interview. If you don't get a chance, definitely check out last week's Control Talk Now. We interviewed everyone from Nino DeCosmo to Mike Swan and his crew from RSD, which is a big distributor out on the West Coast going through Colorado. So, dude, it was spectacular, man. What a great time. And I can't say enough about what Tritium did. Jenny Graves and what she put together was just phenomenal. And real quick, we're going to take a look at the boys from here's Jenny. Here's our girl, Jenny Graves. Hang on, get a picture of her real quick. She totally rocked and rolled, Kenny, and it was just spectacular to see her. And there she is at the square, like you talked about. And it was just great stuff.
Well, the trick with marketing, I actually did marketing. Part of the college days I had was business management and marketing was always fun, but it's like acting and singing. Out of 100 people that go into the field, probably a handful actually make it to a formidable job where you actually impact the image of an industry and impact you set the corporate culture. And Jenny did an amazing job because they transitioned Tritium, went through a relabeling, relogoing, and then Niagara 4, of course, was an enormous jump from AX. And all the rippled down stuff, it's amazing. It takes a lot of work and a great team, like she said. But then to be able to boost that when you need to. In other words, it's good you maintain status quo, but to really get people excited. So Jenny's really mastered the engagement of social media. I don't know how many times my phone went off for Twitter, how many times I got to see things I couldn't see. I'm on this side of the show, but all of a sudden I could watch a little snippet. Somebody's over here taking a picture of this, or all the different breakouts, we're all being monitored by the social media. So she'd really put together an incredibly integrated type of integration. How about social media integration? I think she did a fabulous job there. Well,
she really did. And I'm going to endeavor to get this up because I want to say a special shout out to Mike Swan and the crew from RSD. Those boys know how to boogie yet. So we're going to show you a couple of the moves here on the screen, Kenny. Let's see if we can get that going. All right, here they go. We're listening to music. So you got to keep in mind we had just music that was just blasting. So this is a little rap song. So you see the guys on screen from RSD doing their thing. Look at Mike Swan go. He's the guy in the middle. talented group of people. So
yeah, big Bulldog fan. He's got a Bulldog in the bottom of his pool. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, he does, but he's not a Georgia Bulldog fan. Kenny's, I think, San Jose State. So it's not the same thing, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, it's competition. You guys are allowed to, that's what makes the world go around. So
that's what makes the world go around. All right, buddy. What do we have up next?
Well, day two. I mean, so, late night a little bit, day two, but comes early. But like you said in the video, nobody missed the roll call. So after going out and enjoying the networking and really truly living it up, I couldn't believe the energy and how early people were. Great condiments, coffee, and then go right into the keynote presentation by Nino DeCosmo. And again, I mean, so many things you could listen to, but the things that I have a tendency that I migrate to and immediately key in is revenue streams. I hear the word revenue. I hear, so the key of Nino's, my opinion was that the development of the deep technology disruption, how deep it goes, just to get a handle on it. But that is opportunity. It's like tilling the fields of the future and finding the ability to fully leverage technology, achieve operational excellence, and develop new revenue streams. So I love hearing that because I think it really motivates you that you're in the right place. You're sitting in the right chair at the right place at the right time because this is important stuff. It's going to really impact your life. Then you get the
hang on. I want to hop in real quick with this a little bit because I really think that I think Nino's a visionary. I really do. And to me, and I said it a couple of times last week, and I'll say it again this week for the people who might not have heard it. To me, it's a little bit like we've been living in a world of DOS-based computers, Bill Gates and all that, which was very functional, right? And it created some revenue opportunities for some people, and it was kind of a de facto standard. And then all of a sudden, Steve Jobs and Apple comes along with what they did. They sort of completely, it was disruptive. It was new, but the opportunities that were created out of that, everything from, the App Store, which I think, Nino and Tritium have created, their version of that with the marketplace. So I really think, when we start talking, Kenny, about the smart buildings controls renaissance, I think Mike Marston, EasyIO, and all the people are contributing to it, but it seems like that maybe Niagara is the nucleus which everything's going to rotate around. And not that there are not going to be a lot of other technologies that maybe even compete with Tritium or Niagara, but I think Niagara is always going to be a factor and always going to have an influence. So it's exciting. And again, I think that it's possible that Nino might be our version of Steve Jobs.
Certainly, because it's and you said the book why, and and we talk about the great success stories of Apple. We talk about the Southwest Airlines and how the CEO or the general manager basically creates the answer to why are we doing this? Why are we here, and why is this so important? And I think the big words are like enablement. Enable. We're enabling technology to make an impact at your discretion. You can pick and choose what you want to do with this technology. Like John Sublett said, but we're going to make sure that technology is going to be working for you, and that's the power of an open system. That technology is going to be accessible, available. In other words, you're trying to create an ecosystem that really spreads out, and people start feeding back with applications, and they got the marketplace, the Tritium Niagara marketplace, which is got a great start. We have an future interview with Emily, and we'll cover that at another presentation, but the power of the open system. And then Pranay Prakash comes up right after that, who's the product marketing, vice president of product marketing. He follows with the edge and cloud technologies that are going to completely change the IoT game. So we talk about the edge analytics now, going up to the enterprise and all the parsing of data, which will come. We'll cover that a little bit later. But to have that just in the keynote address session, you knew you were at the right place. And about the other technologies, there were some other great players there. You had Project Haystack, which got its recognition. So some of the things that you and I have been to the Project Haystack meetings, where we know that templating and the issues that are caused either through error or not on purpose, or the errors that are being made on purpose, they're being identified. So the Project Haystack now has got it's made its impact, and it's being recognized and accepted. So that's going to that's going to catch on much faster now, because all the manufacturers are going to start putting, the same semantics into their equipment. So there's not going to be 9 ways to call an outside air sensor an outside air sensor. So I mean, it's just fabulous.
Well, right.
Delivery of technology.
Well, I completely agree, Kenny. And I think the other thing that was really cool about that is I've seen people that were more excited after this particular summit than any other time. And one guy in particular, Mike Marston, let's see if I can get him on here, actually had a meeting and made an announcement. And let's see if we can pull that up so everybody can hear that. Give me 2 secs here. Let's pull this bad boy up and see if we can get it.
We have fully embraced the Tritium Edge technology. I'm not sure what I can call this, but it's more like a micro type of Niagara. It's going to be amazing. You probably won't see it till next year, but we already have the hardware now. We could run that, and I said that to the Tritium team. I said, if you look at people who make hardware, I mean, EasyIO is the company. So, guys, you now have a plant controller for Niagara 4 and for Edge. You have the full thing with the kind of I/O that you expect from EasyIO.
Perfect, huh, Kenny? Good stuff from Mike Marston.
Well, that's the thing. What happens in meetings? People don't realize why you need to go to these meetings unless they don't. If you hear, see, and feel what's going on there, you see people hatching business deals right now. If you see people changing jobs, changing resumes, it's not necessarily good for people in our business because you don't want to lose your top gun. But it's very exciting. There were VPs meeting with VPs and product managers meeting with these, and they're talking about. They come out of here motivated too with a couple cups of coffee. They just came up with an idea that they're going to pursue that leads into those new value streams. So I don't know, it's pretty
really,
cool.
Really cool, buddy. Well, and the hits just keep on going. The product showcase was fantastic. Let me put it in perspective for you guys. Typically to do like a short interview, like a video, like a 2-minute video, you're talking maybe 1 to 2 gigs. Dude, we came away with, I think, 68 gigs worth of video files. So we'll be endeavoring to get those up for you guys on Control Trend. So if you weren't at the product showcase, you can see some of the really, really cool products that were introduced, and not just products from the U.S., but products from around the world. So exciting stuff.
Was it tested? I have a short list here, but the Sysmic out of Germany came in there, and they were partnered with Phoenix Contact Group. And you talk about new technologies and deployed Niagara. In other words, Niagara not in a Jace, but in another device. What an amazing demonstration they did. Of course, you had your standard, your usual suspects. You had Connect Air, you had Onicon, Den Instruments. You had ACI, you had BASSG, Alper, Alsmeser, and you had Contemporary Controls. You had George Thomas's team introducing their Sedona component. And that was another interesting thing that may develop into a different. I don't know what the business result's going to be or disruption that's going to cause, but apparently the Tritium folks are going to shift some of their guns and horses from Sedona to Edge, and they might orphan some of the Sedona, diehards and the guys that really develop Sedona. They have products related to that and business models related to that. So that was an interesting development. We need to keep track of that. But Johnson Controls was there. Some of the old guys, Greg Wilmer and Chris Lane, there's another guy that, they've all been recognized for this 40 or 35 years of industry performance. Link Spring, Mark Peacock and his guys, the young gun was amazing. He did a presentation that we videoed. You had Sensor Fact, new concepts coming up on just looking at the sensor information, kind of extricating all the sensor information and making it important and accessible, but not disturbing the building management or the workstation, building automation. Sky founder there's John Petsy did a great job. Again, he was constantly surrounded by potential customers. I'm sure it's a money pit for him. Various industries, Viconics, Doug Geddick and the new gentleman from Johnson now works for Viconics. You remember his name? He was with us on Chris Lane on one of the Tech Shark Talks. It'll come to me. Blue Ridge Technologies. Again, the lighting thing that they're proposing is so straightforward and logical. Instead of creating a protocol for lighting, how about using BACnet protocol to control your lights? And it's unified control. So you can put a little bit, or a lot of it, or the whole thing, enchilada, and it's not going to set you back. It's going to be right consistent with the people that your systems integrators, the things that they're familiar with. They'll discover them, they'll set them up, they'll put schedules on them, and off you go. So they simplified, what could be a pain in the butt when you're trying to integrate lights. So
that's good stuff.
It just
well, yeah, and I think sort of like Kenny, you mentioned earlier, the overarching theme was edge to enterprise, right? And one of the people you mentioned early on, Alper with BASSG, just a brilliant guy. We've got a video interview where he shows us his new edge type device. So exciting stuff, but I think that's a theme you're hearing in the smart building controls renaissance. We're going edge to enterprise and all points in between, which sort of brings us to, if you don't understand what's going on, you just have to listen to the great communicator, our friend Ed Merwin, right, Kenny?
Absolutely. Again, Eric, I applaud your energy because you talk about all those gigs and how much goes into it. I hope people could really appreciate how much work you do to make to edit those videos, because I've seen you and I've been waiting for you to go eat. You've been working
thanks, Kenny.
At the ScreenFlow and whatever. But to get a good 4 or 5 minute video actually takes probably 2 or 3 hours. But so I just want to remind everybody, there's videos there. You have to watch the day 1, day 2, because Pranay Prakash had a great video. And day 1 we had Wayne Ty and Jenny Graves are all interviews. So please make sure that you take the time to watch the interviews, because that's what it's all about. You get the cliff notes from a 4 or 5 minute interview that would normally take you a significant amount of time if you went there and you would not have heard what these people say. So yeah, Ed Merwin, again, he is probably the most consistent evangelist, and he just does it all because he comes from a technical background. He's been through the rigors and every hierarchy plateau you can go up in a corporate to take over as the one of the chief communicators of the Niagara message. He does a fabulous job, but he's technically sound, and makes it. He's able to take this esoteric, sometimes difficult to understand information and put it into terms that everybody can understand and make sense of and understand.
Let's have a little listen from Ed here.
Sitting there and teaching people about tagging and explaining it in a way that everybody could understand, and then Pranay picking up on it and talking about the edge and the cloud, and a really great example about how going to the cloud, getting a VAV box application, dropping it in there using your cell phone. So I thought it really brought it all together and got people understanding this is what I need to look for when I'm here, and to go to all the different sessions that talk about edge, cloud, and analytics, and then come to the booths and see all the great people we have here. And we certainly talked about the community too, and how important the big players are in the community, and people that have been doing the really cool jobs, and how we've been doing IoT for many years. Not it's a buzzword, but we've been doing it since 2000, 99, 2000. So I thought it was a great start. I think one of the best ones we've ever had.
Well, there you go. That's Ed Merwin from Tritium, Kenny, and nobody says it better than Ed. We a lot of us distributors and a lot of people that have been around for a while sort of believe that if Ed Merwin had not been around, Tritium might not have ever made it, and certainly would not be configured the way it is now, because he took the complicated, was able to explain it, make it simple. One of the really great guys in our industry, Kenny, and I tell you, we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to Ed Merwin, in my opinion.
I agree. Again, you talk about it's like first dates or whatever. You remember when you met Ed for the first time, and he gave you the Niagara presentation. You said, okay, where do we sign? When do we go to school? Because it was just that you knew you had to be into it. So he's a consummate, engineer, sales engineer. In other words, but he really is passionate. And I think what amazes me most is how he renews himself each time. He's never repetitive. It's just so it takes a lot of work. He makes it look easy, but it's actually quite a commitment, professionally and personally. And then, what happens, Eric, here is like all great things come to an end. All great concerts come to an end. Movies end and leave you teary-eyed or whatever. This tempest of technology and tsunami of industry superstars actually comes to an end, but it does in a very, very handy fashion. The next post we had was day 3 at Niagara Summit. And again, we have the title, Nino DeCosmo, Leadership Extraordinaire, which is cool as can be. But because we're playing back that you do have to have leadership. It's not magic. So you have to have a game plan. You have to get that message out to people that they fully understand it, embrace it. And once you do that, then incredible things happen. So congratulations.
Well, congratulations to Nino. Did a fantastic job, Kenny. And let's take a minute and hear what he has to say.
Full experience again. To Niagara Summit 2016. We've had a tremendous amount of positive feedback. all the way from the location and the opening event on Friday night in Champion Square, the keynotes yesterday, Monday morning to kick it off, all the content in the afternoon, just a tremendous amount of positive feedback. And then again this morning with David Pogue, I mean, just did a wonderful job bringing together consumer and commercial and the Internet of Things, and making fun of some things too, right? And just giving everybody a good chance to have some fun. And so we got a great lineup again this afternoon, then a big gala dinner, and I got to tell you, I wish I could tell you that somebody's given us some feedback says that we could do this better or that better, but we just haven't gotten it yet, and that's great news.
Yeah, there you go, Kenny, and I completely agree with that. That's a great thing when all you get is positive feedback, and I think, dude, they probably get an A+ for what they did this particular summit. Well,
I mean, when you think about it, you got a chance to see your review. Well, first of all, I want to just say that how the community keeps growing. We went to these Niagara Summits now together for last 3, and each year there's a recognizable growing force. So to see the community grow by 200 or 300 and come there and actually attend it and be part of it, that was one major observation. 2 is that Niagara 4 finally is embedded in everybody's mind, and Honeywell offered some great opportunities to advance Niagara 4. You got people on the edge because, again, we talk about the sweet spot professionally. You've done some great work, and it's been your mainstay for 7-8 years. It's very difficult to lure those people into the new technology because you have to incentivize them. They have to see the revenue reasons as much as everything else. What happens when Windows goes to Windows 10 and Apple goes to this and Samsung goes to that, and everybody keeps upgrading their iOSs, and if you don't make that leap forward, you're going to be orphaned back there in an old technology, and people are finally realizing that. And that's where another part, you got to infuse new blood into it so they can explain to you why you can't just sit on Windows XP anymore. I mean, you really and truly need to take the next step. So I think they conveyed that message incredibly. So the milestones that they've already accomplished. And then I think most importantly, too, is we all have a sense of the future. We all realize that this is time well spent, this is money well invested, because this is the future. It's not going to get any easier, simpler, or slower. So you need to make those. What did Jim Young say? He said, evolve or retire. So. Or catch up, keep on pace, right. Or retire.
The train has left the station. And listen, that is why they call him, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend. Kenny, I don't think you could have summarized things any better than that. So with that, big dog, I think we better get back to our families, because we were in New Orleans, Louisiana last week, and I had some fence mending to do, and you probably did too. So anything else before we sign off, big dog?
No, it's just like Nina said, that David Poe was amazingly entertaining. So we got a visionary. It's just like perfect. It was icing on top of the cake. To see one of these guys is one of the most recognized how to do this. Over 3 million books in print. Founder of Yahoo Tech. But man, that was just fun. And to see his version of an outsider's view, looking in on our industry and then making encouragements that out of 10 attempts, 8 of them fail miserably. Even in go to the movies here in 2016, you figure with all the technology and all the incredible education everybody has, they still can't guarantee a good movie. You just have to put it together and see what happens. So that was like the final inspiration I thought for the Niagara community, is that you're not going to win you're not going to win the lottery not buying a ticket. You buy a ticket. Yeah, see what happens.
You got to play in the game. But the other thing that really encouraged me, Kenny, is he spent his whole presentation talking about all these diverse sort of IoT apps and different things you can do, and the one thing that's missing is a piece of software that brings them all together, and that's where maybe the opportunity for Niagara and the rest of us lays ahead. So
well said.
Well, listen, Kenny, with that, a special thanks to everybody at Tritium for their hospitality, and congratulations on another great conference. We really appreciate being involved in that. And we are Jim Young, Howard Berger, Lisa Woods. We're coming for you next. So get ready. We'll be at the Realcomm Ibicon Conference out in San Jose, the end of June. There's still time to register for that. So with that, Kenny Smyers, a very, very, very special thanks to all of our viewers. We really appreciate it. It was great seeing you guys at the Tritium Summit and girls at the Tritium Summit. So with that, Kenny Smyers, I will say, be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.